Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara and today we're going to be going over how to not reincarnate again. So this video is going to be based off of my own personal opinions and thoughts and conclusions that I have come to. I am by no means saying that this is facts or that this is the only way you can do certain things. If you guys have any other ideas, you guys can always feel free to add them in the comments below so we can all kind of figure this situation out together. But as usual, you guys can take what resonates and leave behind what does not. Also, this video is for those of you who are interested in not reincarnating again, or you guys believe in the reincarnation cycle or wheel or loop or whatever way, shape, or form you guys want to look at it. If you don't believe in any of these concepts and you love it down here on this earth plane, this video probably isn't going to be for you. So in terms of not reincarnating again, we have to look at the whole reincarnation cycle or loop. So basically, first of all, to understand the whole concept of not reincarnating again, we have to kind of look at the whole concept of the reincarnation loop. To me, it feels more so like a loop. Like a lot of people are kind of stuck on almost autopilot energetically. That makes sense. They keep coming down here on this earth plane to maybe do something that they want to do on that soul level, but then it's like you come down here and there's a lot of deception down here on this earth plane. Now, what's really, really interesting is when I was younger, I used to think that it was like certain people that it would be their last lifetime. But these days, I do really feel like if you want it to be your last lifetime here on this earth plane, that is, you can absolutely decide for it to be your last lifetime. The thing is, if you do decide for it to be your last lifetime, you're going to have to basically be prepared to unweave yourself from the karmic web. So what's going on here? I made a video a few years ago now. It was called How to Clear Karma. Some things that I don't necessarily fully agree with that I mentioned in that video are things like that the earth plane is a school. I don't really believe that anymore. I don't think it is school down here. That's very much a new age concept. I do feel like a lot of things down here on this earth plane are deceptive. They're energy siphoning types of situations and energy binding. And because it is a lot of energy siphoning and binding, when you come down here, you have to really get in tune with the soul and the core of yourself as a being to see what is it that you want to do on that soul level. And a lot of this is going to be connected to your intuition, which unfortunately most people have been stripped of. So most people are not in tune with their intuition. People are more so in the logical mind. These are things that are celebrated down here. Things like the feminine energy, which are intuition and feeling and being in tune with the emotions and all of these types of things are usually either demonized or looked at negatively. Or if we look at like certain industries in terms of making money, the industries that are more feminine energy leaning are going to be industries where you don't necessarily make that much money unless you happen to maybe be like that one person who succeeded in, let's say, a creative field or something of that sort. But most people don't necessarily make high amounts of money in these types of industries, or people get discouraged. For example, like let's say when you're younger and you want to maybe do some sort of creative field. Again, yes, absolutely, it is very, very competitive. Like there is that factor there. Let's say it's something creative that you guys want to do, but like still at the same time, it's like it's not like the other fields that are more masculine energy leaning where people have more options to kind of go into these fields and let's say make larger amounts of money. So we kind of have that as a basis of society. And when I talk about masculine and feminine energy, I'm not necessarily talking about gender roles at all. I do believe that we have masculine and feminine energy within us. It's just that some people are core feminine energy, some people are core masculine energy, but you're still going to have the other energy within you. And to be operating in your full self alignment and to be a sovereign being, you actually have to have both of these energies in alignment and they have to be balanced. So that's one of the deceptions down here on this earth plane. Personally, this is the way that I see it, is like most people are stuck in some form of codependency, which is a sacral chakra wounding. If you guys want to learn more about that, I do have my Exploring the Chakras playlist. I will link it down below. You guys can learn more about the chakras and the overall wounds in the collective, because the name of the game here is like anything that's going on with the lower three chakras, even the heart space I've added in there as well. But anything that's going on with these lower chakras, those are all of the energetic wounds that are taking place within the collective. It could be ancestral, it could just be a collective wound overall. Something like abandonment, for example, is a collective wound because it's like abandonment is going to be connected to your whole existence, is really what that is. Like if you feel like you're not being validated in one way, shape, or form, or you're feeling abandoned in this way, you might feel energetically like you don't exist. It's a little bit deeper and it's a little bit more philosophical. So that's why you have people who are constantly looking for validation, for example, from other people, constantly wanting to, let's say, be in a relationship, fearing losing that person. For example, if they have found this person, the fear of abandonment, once again, is connected to this. And then again, we have the fear of abandonment connected to a lot of different realms of life. For example, like we have cancel culture culture going on. I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore, but it was big, let's say in these past few years, where it's like, once again, that is a core human wound, to kind of feel like you don't fit in with the crowd, or like you're being isolated from the crowd, or like you're not part of the group, and like people are humiliating you or like laughing at you, or so on and so forth. Like, that's a human wound. Basically, that was a punishment back in the day, where like one person would be ostracized from the community, or it's kind of like they would be humiliated in front of everyone as a form of punishment for not being in line with what the overall group wants. So it's deeper than this, of course. There's a lot more to say. I'm not going to go into too many details in this video. If you guys want to learn more about the abandonment wound, it's connected to your solar plexus chakra, so it's going to be in the solar plexus chakra video. And once again, these are things that I have just gathered over time. And another one of my disclaimers always is that I'm not a psychologist or medical practitioner or anything of that sort. I'm just an observer of life, and I learn a bunch of random things, and then I just start to put the pieces together, and then I share information with you guys, is really what that is. So we have, let's say, these core wounds. Those are the lower chakra wounds. It's interesting because if you read theological texts and you actually are able to separate the shadow masculine interpretation of these texts and the very literal interpretation of these texts, basically what they're trying to teach people is to come into their own sovereignty. That's really what it is at the end of the day. To come into your own sovereignty, to be your own sovereign being, to be balanced in your own masculine, feminine energy. And then at that point in time, you can kind of move towards enlightenment, is really what that is. So we have this concept of enlightenment in different scriptures. It's maybe going to be labeled something different, but this is what I believe that they are trying to teach people. But once again, it's been misinterpreted and kind of like broken telephone over time, unfortunately. So with that being said, it's like at this point in time, people are super enmeshed, let's say, with other people, and it's this whole karmic web that has been weaved and that people kind of have to start to untangle themselves from. So the first step is, if you decide that you no longer want to incarnate down here on this earth plane, you basically have to now start clearing this karmic web that you may have been entangled in, is really what that is. Now, it depends on the individual. Some people have more karma, some people have less karma. I know some people are going to say that karma is like a construct of this earth plane, but that's actually what's happening down here energetically. There's basically something taking place around the earth plane energetically that's kind of operating this whole karmic system. Personally, just my own opinion, I do feel like the earth plane is operated by Saturn down here, and that's going to be a little bit more of a deeper dive for maybe a different day of how that actually operates. But there's something here, because it's like this energetic system that's operating around the earth plane is what's operating astrology. And the thing is, we can see that astrology is accurate for people in their lives. So it's like, if you just follow the logical process, it's kind of like, well, why is astrology so accurate? That means there's something that's operating this whole system for this to be accurate. Now, you're going to have religions that are going to try to demonize astrology, but the thing is, the people who aren't even into astrology, you will see that these people have no idea about astrology, that they are, if you look at their, let's say, natal charts, and you look a little deeper into their lives and maybe have conversations with these people, you will see that they are unconsciously playing out their astrological chart. So it's like, whether you believe in it or you don't, you are still playing out these energies, is really what that is. So the question here is, why is that taking place, and how is this taking place, is really what that is. So if you follow the logical path and you eventually kind of get to the conclusion, that means there is something here that is operating this whole energetic structure. In my own opinion, it's going to be Saturn. Saturn is operating this energetic plane, and Saturn is karma, and Saturn is time, and that's kind of what's this whole energetic restriction basically that's taking place down here. So while we are in this dimension, there's this energetic overlay basically that's taking place, which is this Saturnian energy, something of the sort, which is connected to karma, which is connected to the reincarnation wheel. And basically, when people are trying to exit the earth plane, this is just my own opinion, basically just the way that I psychically see it is like, there's the earth plane, and then there's this energetic overlay which is connected to Saturn, and it's almost like, if you haven't resolved internally certain things that have taken place down here on this earth plane, maybe certain experiences, maybe things that you may have done to other people without knowing or recognizing, or maybe you have certain desires, or just like you got deceived in one way, shape, or form when you were down here, or you got energetically binded, which is the biggest trap in my own opinion, is the energetic binding and the energetic siphoning that takes place down here on this earth plane. Now, I have a few videos about that. I will add those in the description box below. I've spoken on these concepts kind of separately, but now I'm kind of bringing all of these concepts together in one video, because really it is all connected at the end of the day. So a few things that I have learned so far here and there, just from learning about these concepts, speaking to people, and so on and so forth, is one of the things is that people don't know how to cross out of this earth plane. So this is something that used to be taught to people back in the day, and I'm sure if we were to dig for these scriptures, these ancient scriptures and texts, we would find this information. So that's something that we would basically have to figure out how to properly cross out when that time comes, because the thing is, if you don't know this information, probably you're going to get looped back into reincarnating once again. So that's one of the things. So that's something that I personally have yet to find or discover or get this information as to what they used to teach people back back in the day in terms of how to cross out. Now, I know a lot of people have phobias around these types of concepts, and I even made a video back in the day. Also, I will add that in the description box below of just like the metaphysical perception on death overall. So if you guys are interested, you guys can check out that video as well. But I do feel like the collective has this huge fear. This is one of those things that also the collective has a huge fear that's kind of like lingering in the background. People don't really talk about it, but it is something that a lot of people could be potentially controlled by, okay, because the fear is there. And once again, the thing is, it's not the actual concept itself I find that people have the fear of. I think it's the fear of unknown, and I think the unknown is connected to us not knowing how to properly cross out. That's one of the things. But the other thing is, I feel like sometimes people fear this concept because they might have this fear within themselves on that soul level that they're going to reincarnate again onto this earth plane. So personally, I find that at this point in time, we are at peak wounding. We're at peak like intensity overall, just like chaos, all these types of things. I mean, it's very obvious if you just like look out your window and you see what's going on. But the thing is, with that being said, people are in these like deep karmic situations and like loops and just like in these webs is really what that is. It's not necessarily just with one person. It's just like a whole web that has been like weaved that you have to kind of like sit down and unfold for yourself and look at Pandora's box. Now, the thing is, the struggle with all of this is that you need the time and you need the space to be able to kind of sit down and explore and start to basically unravel this web for you. But absolutely, it is doable if, once again, this is your intention and you choose to sit down and look at and be like, okay, what is going on here? Most of these issues, most of these karmic things where people are kind of in these situations is connected to not listening to the self, not listening to what the soul wants. Now, the unfortunate part is in all of this is that individuals basically get stripped from this. Like I mentioned in the earlier part of this video, they get stripped from this intuition, yes, but also it's just like there's certain expectations in society, or like you get fed through just like visual things. Usually it's like visual things, like let's say you saw something online or you saw something in a movie, or it's just like back in the day it was just like everybody around you had like certain expectations, like this is what you do, this is the trajectory of life, but like not everyone can fit into a box is really what that is, which is what is happening right now. A lot of people are starting to see a lot of these deceptions. That's part of the veil lifting. So there's been a lot of deceptions up until this point in time. So it's like, first of all, you have to figure out what are these deceptions that have taken place maybe in your own life, or where have you been energetically deceived, and then unweave yourself from that situation. Grieve, because like grieving is gonna definitely be part of the entire process to basically grieve and purge all these things that you thought were going to be one way, and then actually they are not that way at all. It was just some sort of grand deception to energetically either bind you or siphon your energy, or just like tie you into certain situations where it's like, once again, your energy is being siphoned and basically binded to certain people and situations, and then it's like the soul still doesn't get to do what it wants to do. So it's like the whole thing, the way that I see it is like the goal here is like you want to enter this realm, or when you do enter this realm for whatever reason, you want to enter it, you want to figure out what it is that you want to do down here on that soul level. So spending the time to figure out what it is that you really want to do, or you came here to do, or you desire to do. And it's like you want to be able to leave this realm without having created new situations or been distracted along the way. So that's like the whole struggle here. And it's like really interesting because also this week I've been thinking about just like the whole concept of like Adam and Eve and the apple and like the whole temptation aspect of it. And of course the woman got blamed in that situation, which literally has nothing to do with anything. The whole point of that story is it's talking about the lower chakras once again. Obviously it's in a different religious scripture and they're not actually referring to the chakras in that scripture, but it's connected to that devil card is really what that is. So when I look at the devil card and the tarot, the two people are chained together, and basically it's like this whole concept of energetic binding, and the whole concept here is connected to that concept of temptation is really what that is. So you come down here and it's just like the way that this earth plane is it's filled with distractions, it's filled with temptations, it is filled with dark energies down here, and that's just the matter of the fact. It is very dark down here. Yes, it's been a spiritual WAR, but like there's been a lot of darkness up until this point, and just like people who maybe don't necessarily see this kind of get sucked into these situations again, maybe unknowingly, maybe because of the lack of information, which is like the main thing. But sometimes it's going to be again things that are fed to you, or you think you want, or you've seen it somewhere, or it's like it should be this way, or these types of things. I hope you guys are following. So it's like anything that's like lower chakra related is something that is going to pull you out of what it is that you want to do on that soul level. The thing is, the question is, what do you actually want to do on that soul level? Because it's like maybe the soul wants to do something, but like maybe the thing that you think you want to do is actually a deception. I hope that that makes sense. So it's like you have to kind of like figure out and really sit with the self and like really kind of get to the point where it's like you are crossing off all of your desires on your list, or things that you think that you want, at least trying them out instead of kind of putting them on a pedestal and like kind of leaving them for later. Another thing that I have learned as well, if you don't want to reincarnate again, is to basically not have any desires left when you are leaving this earth plane. So it's like even at the point of like exit and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I did that thing, and you didn't do it, boom, you're going to reincarnate again. So that's one of the things. You don't want to have any desires remaining. You also don't want to have any sort of lingering energy between two people. So this is why a lot of religions are going to be asking for quote unquote forgiveness. Like sometimes in certain religions, they're going to say things like, oh, if I've ever wronged you or harmed you and I didn't know, I'm asking for your forgiveness. Like there's that concept of that in certain religions. So it's kind of like the same thing, because it's like sometimes you do something and it's like maybe you didn't think it affected someone, but it could have affected them. And then it's like when you're crossing out, it's like you might be shown and you're like, oh, look at how you made Billy feel. And you're like, I had no idea I made Billy feel that way, when it's like I was just kind of like doing my own thing. So it's like it's this whole concept. And then it's like you're trying to exit. It's like there's this karmic tie to this person now, because it's like you made Billy feel a certain type of way, but you might not necessarily know that you did something to this person. So it's like then you come back down here to work out the karma. And as time goes on, these situations get deeper and deeper and deeper, if that makes sense. Like it could have been something that was like the smallest thing, but it's like then you two come back down, and then it's like again, you don't know. It's all about ignorance, I find, at the end of the day, and just like not knowing about these types of concepts. So it's like it's interesting to see that certain religions have that concept where it's like, oh, if I've wronged you in any type of way, I'm asking for your forgiveness. So that's one other way to not reincarnate again. But also it's like if you feel it intuitively or like within yourself that there's like a tie to a person, that maybe something happened or maybe you did something to them or whatever it is, kind of trying to rectify that or just like resolving that within yourself at least. Because once again, when you're trying to cross out, so you don't get deceived in coming back down here again, because of the whole concept. Once again, you know, when you're trying to cross out, I'm sure you guys maybe have heard certain people talk about stories and maybe there's individuals there. Again, we don't really know what takes place at the point of crossing out, but it's like there's something here. The way that I psychically see it is like because of this like energetic structure or whatever it is that's around the earth plane, it's like you're trying to leave, something takes place there where it's like you bounce back down into this earth plane. I've heard stories from people as well where they're like, when you're crossing out, you don't want to follow the light. Again, we can't confirm this because how can you know at the end of the day? But if you can do these certain things where it's like it's clear within yourself and within your soul, and you're like, okay, I tried this thing, I didn't enjoy it, or I tried this thing, I succeeded at it in terms of desires. You don't want to build any new desires while you're down here. If you do, you want to act on that once again. Obviously, as long as these desires are something that's positive. If you're doing shady things, once again, the shady things are going to catch up with you karmically, energetically, because there is some sort of just like karmic repercussion thing happening down here, and it is connected to that energetic structure that I find is operating this whole structure or system basically that is around the earth plane, and once again that I personally find is ruled by Saturn. So it's like there is a whole concept of karma that's taking place down here. So this is really what it is. So then it's like you start kind of unweaving yourself from this web, maybe of people, maybe there's certain patterns, and like healing obviously is connected to all of this as well. But there comes a point in time where it's like maybe you've just like analyzed yourself so much and you know why you do everything that you do, and you know all these things, and people are still sent your way. Well, at that point in time, those people could be sent your way to try to energetically bind you, or these people could try to energetically pull you into these situations, darker situations, things that go against your morals, things that go against your beliefs, and so on and so forth. So this is why the whole concept of forgiveness is really important, even for the self, because it's like sometimes you really don't know any better and you kind of get sucked into these situations. But it's like the more you start to develop your solar plexus chakra, this is the way that I see it, you strengthen your aura, you start to kind of have the confidence in the self, you know who you are, you've learned yourself, you've learned what your likes, wants, needs, and desires are, maybe your soft spots, maybe your wounds, all these types of things. Well, it's like when these people come into your life and they try to pull at your energy and they're trying to kind of energetically siphon off of you or bind you to them, you have to not engage with these people, is really what that is. And it's important to understand that it's like it's not something that you're doing, it's just like the way that this energetic structure is, it's very much like energy siphoning down here. It's parasitic, that's the word that I'm looking for. It's very energetically parasitic, and it's like especially if you're a light being and you have a lot of light, you will constantly have these people coming towards you trying to energetically siphon your energy. So that's the way that I see it at this point in time. It's like you come here, you enter this realm for whatever reason, there's probably something that you didn't either get to complete or you didn't get to do, or maybe something you have to clear, whatever it is. After you kind of unweave this web for yourself and you know what's going on and you kind of rectify certain situations, maybe with certain people, you don't engage in shady behaviors anymore, you don't engage in the lower chakra types of things, the lower chakra types of activities, you are clear energetically, so you're going into those higher vibrations. These people might come through, okay, because again, you are building the light energy within yourself. And it's like the way that I always saw it was like, I find that when people reach a certain like higher vibration, that's when they quote unquote cross out of this earth plane, because you're no longer a vibrational match. That's another thing that I've been thinking about once again, just my my own opinion. But it's like when you're trying to be on this path of just like light and purity, again, this is another thing that has been tainted energetically, the whole concept of purity. It's really the purification of the soul is really what that is. It has nothing to do with anything else. That's another thing that's been like misconstrued and just like not understood properly. But anyway, so it's like you go through this purification of your vessel, of the soul. You cleanse yourself maybe again of certain things, of certain situations. You don't engage in these lower vibrational behaviors. You might have these people coming through trying to latch onto your energy now because maybe they don't have any sort of light energy happening within them, or they need a battery pack, or more often than not, they're just a distraction. They're trying to come into your life to distract you, to cause chaos, to pull you into your lower chakras. And like the only way you're going to know this is by knowing your own energy, is really what that is. Because it's like when you're vibrating at a higher vibration, let's say you're vibrating out of the heart space and up, the higher chakras, which are the spiritual chakras, if someone comes through and like when you hook into their energy, it's pulling you down into your solar plexus, that is a lower vibrational person. You need to not engage with this individual. They're trying to basically pull you down, siphon your energy. And that's the whole name of the game. That is the way that I see it. The soul incarnates down here wanting to do something. Maybe the soul was deceived. Who knows what the reason is? Maybe there's something that you need to clear. Maybe sometimes the lesson or whatever you're trying to learn down here is to learn that it is a plane of deception. That's something that I've been thinking about these days too. Like maybe that is the thing that people are meant to learn, that it's like there's a lot of deception down here, and that it's like no matter how many certain things you try to cross off your desire list, that it's like perhaps these things are just feeding the ego and not feeding the heart space. Like these are all things just to think about, is really what that is. I'm just throwing these ideas and concepts out there, but that's the overall name of the game. That's the way that I see it. You basically want to leave this earth plane not having created new karmic situations, not being like siphoned energetically in any sort of situation, something that's pulling at your energy, and like you would have wanted to complete whatever you wanted to complete on that soul level, and you don't want to get distracted down here by creating new, let's say, desires and new things that you want to do. If you do create new desires, make sure you cross those things off your list, or like goals or whatever you're trying to do, is really what that is. Because it's like, again, when you're crossing out and you haven't done those things, boom, you're going to basically get looped back in again. Okay, so you have to have that clear soul, that clear vessel. Make sure that you clear situations with people. You have to know when people coming at you are energy vampires or trying to siphon off of your energy to kind of like bind you down here again. Because the thing is, when I talk about people binding you, they're binding you in the sense where it's like they're pulling you toward them, or situations are pulling you toward that, and you're not following your path. That's the thing. You don't want to have the regret where it's like, I wanted to do this thing, but I wasn't able to do it because of X, Y, Z. I really hope that that makes sense. So this is the whole name of the game, what I've learned thus far, in order to not reincarnate again. And it's like, let's say there was something that you thought you wanted to do and you've changed your mind. Make sure, again, within yourself, you've resolved this and you're like, okay, I really thought I wanted to do this, but I don't want to do it anymore. I changed my mind, whatever. Just making sure that these things are settled within you as a person is really what that is. So this is the way that I see it up until this point in time. Maybe I will learn new information. If I do, I will always make another video. I'm going to wrap up this video here on how to not reincarnate again. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.